Welcome to another Saturday night and taking it to the nub. I'm your host, Boston Jimmie, and tonight we have an interesting show. You know, everybody in the cigar industry wants to be a legend. Well, tonight I have a man that's going to try to be a legend, so much so that he named his cigar brand Mega Legend Cigars. So we're going to let him explain all of that when he comes in. But first, let's go do a little advertising. This episode of Taking It to the Nub is sponsored by the Box Press Cigar app, the ultimate cigar smoking experience. With Box Pressed, you can easily catalog cigars with your own virtual humidor, quickly rate and record notes for any cigar using the smoke session feature, receive intelligent cigar recommendations based on your personal taste profile, and access exclusive discounts from top cigar brands. You can even shop your favorite cigars directly in the app, then automatically sync the order to your virtual humidor, plus so much more. Download Box Press today by typing bxpr.sd/install into any web browser and discover the world of cigars like never before. That's bxpr.sd/install. And today's show is brought to you by All Saints Cigars, a company founded in 2019 and headed up by industry veteran Mickey Pegg and his two friends, Martin Corboy, a successful restaurateur, and Frank Leo, an Air Force Academy graduate military veteran. As Mickey explains it, they were all sitting down, talking and smoking cigars, and finally they decided that they would do this thing together. It was time. Mickey said, "I decided if I'm going to work hard at it, it should be something I love. Besides, a tough day with a cigar is better than a great day doing anything else." Soon after, they began the process of launching All Saints Cigars, jokingly referring to themselves as the Holy Trinity: St. Michael, St. Martin, and St. Francis. They chose for their logo the cross of St. James, the patron saint of Nicaragua, the country where their cigars would be produced. You can check out All Saints Cigars at www.allsaintscigars.com. All right. Let us bring in my guest, Jonathan Bateman, the owner and founder of Mega Legend Cigars. Jonathan, how are you? I've got Cigar Rockstar that wants to come in, so I'm going to bring him in, and I'm going to put him on mute for a little bit when he comes in so we can have a chat.
Sounds good.
All right, bringing him in. There he is, Cigar Rockstar himself. We got Legend. We got a Rockstar. We are just rolling right along.
Legendary rock star.
That's it. Before we get too deep into this show, let's talk about Jonathan. What did you do before you decided to go create cigars? And obviously probably still doing now.
Yeah, no, that's pretty easy. For me, Jimmie, man, first and foremost, I want to thank you for allowing me and giving me this privilege to come on to your platform. Like, when you and I met at Stanley's, at Life and Times, I didn't even know what was going to become of that. But meeting you and talking to you, we had a great conversation, and I just want to thank you for allowing me this opportunity to come on and speak a little bit about the brand and like you said, first and foremost, tell everyone a little bit about myself. I appreciate that. Me, I've tried a lot of different things. I've been everything from a truck driver to a personal trainer. I've owned a restaurant. I've done everything that.
Oh, you got muted there for a second.
We good?
Yeah, we're good. Yeah, you go back to that. You were
okay. So everything from I've driven 18-wheelers. I've owned my own restaurant. personal trainer. I've worked in commercial solar sales. I've done pretty much everything under the sun. So the transition was fairly easy for me. I found the love for cigars about 8 years ago, just traveling the world and smoking cigars in different locations. And what I noticed was that the one thing that was unanimous, no matter where I was the love for the stick, the love for the leaf, people coming together, smoking, having a good time, and conversing. That's what I
Absolutely.
enjoyed the most.
So you came out with this line this year?
Last year, yeah.
Now, you sent me some samples, and I had both of these at Life and Times when we were there, because I had a lot of time to spend smoke cigars. One I really, really enjoyed there was these Lanceros.
The Lancero, yeah.
And folks, these right here, these Lanceros are fire, okay? They really are. But we're going to talk a little bit about some things about these blends. So this right here is one I'm going to fire up tonight. So when I'm getting ready to fire this up, explain to people the blend of this cigar, and then let's talk a little bit about how you came to make this cigar and where you're making them and so forth.
Absolutely. So the blend itself is a Ecuador wrapper, Ecuador binder. The filler is Peruvian, Nicaraguan, Dominican. My cigars are rolled and housed in Costa Rica, up in the mountains, Curacao. They say Curacao, Costa Rica. That's where the cigars are aged, fermented. They're rolled there. That's where I let them sit between 6 months to a year before they arrive and come to me. So every couple months I go out there and I check on the blends just to make sure that everything's staying consistent, so that, you know, once they're shipped out, I know that everyone's getting the same exact cigar every time.
When you started this process, so you launched them last year, but you started obviously a year before that, probably because you had to go through this process of aging and doing the normal things that a quality cigar is supposed to go through.
Right.
What did you know about cigar manufacturing before you got into this?
Hey, Jimmie, I knew very little. I'm going to be 100% honest with you. I'm still so young in the business that I'm learning every day. Every single day, I'm learning from those around me that they don't mind taking me under their wing. So everyone from Cigar Mike, Chi-Town Peaches, we got so many people in the industry that have welcomed me in and have taught me so much, that I'm humbled and I'm excited at the same time. So I'm just taking everything in. When I met with you, I took that in. We had great conversations about it. So I didn't know a lot about it other than the fact that I enjoyed it. I enjoyed finding different flavors and different profiles that I really like. So that's something that I continue to grow in.
So one of the things that we talked about there, and you don't have to get into all the details, but the cigar, fresh out of the wrapper, I'm smelling hazelnut and coffee notes very strongly, not infused, but a proprietary process that brings that aroma.
Yes, that's right.
Almost like aromatherapy right now.
Aromatherapy, that's actually a better term to use than what I coined. I call it aromatized, because essentially what I wanted to do was I wanted to create a scent that doesn't mess with the flavor or the profile of the cigar, but it's just an aroma. So with just an aroma, I wanted people to, when they open it, they pull it out the pack, they smell it, and they say, wow, this smells really great. When you go to smoke it, you don't taste that. You don't taste the flavor. It's not infused. It's not coated, dipped, anything like that.
Yeah, there's no pastiness on my tongue or my palate. You know, you get some of these infused cigars, it kind of sticks to your palate. I never got that from these. What I did notice, the difference between these two, on the cold draw, this one being a Lancero obviously has a whole lot less filler. This one has more filler. So when I was cold drawing this, did you hear me? Am I there? Yeah. Okay. You were going in and out there for a second.
I'm here. I'm here.
So when I went through the cold drawer on this one, I was getting a little bit of that hazel, but I was also getting a chocolate note coming through on the cold draw, which was
Right.
very pleasant. And right now it's obviously just starting, so we'll talk some more about it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
where are you now?
Right now, I'm actually in the DR. I was selected by Monica Coleman of Stanley Cigar Lounge in Atlanta. Great establishment. Love her place. She asked me several months back if I would come out and sponsor her event, and so I gladly accepted. And I mean, that's where we are right now. And it's pretty cool to see people walking around smoking the Mega Legend cigars, and that's what we do it for, right? Like, I mean, we want to see a smile on people's face. We want to see that, So that's what it was all about.
Now, why the name Mega Legend?
Ooh, Jimmie, hey, that's a deep one. It's so if we go below or beneath surface level, it's pretty deep. So I have a sister. My sister and I are fairly close. We grew up together, extremely close, 4.5 years apart. About 3 years ago, she asked me if her son could come and live with me in Texas. And I actually, took her up on the offer and said, yeah, I would love for him to come and stay with me because, he's a great kid. I grew up with him. He grew up underneath me. And she wanted him to come and stay with me because she felt that he would get a better chance at learning what it was like to be a man. My sister's a single parent. So when she sent him to come stay with me, we built a great relationship. I showed him some things, taught him some things. Hey, this is what you need to do to become a man. And he did that. He started a family, he started working, all of these great things. Fast forward to about 2 years ago, he came back to Atlanta, and he moved back to Atlanta, and he basically went to there was a situation that occurred between my sons and some guys that they had some type of issue with. My nephew, he wanted to diffuse the situation. So being the type of guy that he was, he went to the scene of the situation. He tried to calm the situation, basically just, mellow everything out. And he told the guys that, hey, you guys don't need to do anything. Like, let's just squash everything and let's walk away from it. As soon as he turned his neck to talk to my sons who were standing right there, the guy shot him in the neck and he killed him. He took his life. Yeah, he took his life. So the reason why I chose Mega Legend is because I don't plan on living the rest of my life and forgetting his sacrifice. Because had it not been for his sacrifice, then it would have been my son that would have been taken. My son, 17 at the time, it would have been him that was taken. My nephew, he left a stamp on his family. So one thing that I plan on doing with every single cigar that I sell, there's proceeds that are going to his newborn baby at the time, his newborn baby. There are proceeds that are going towards the baby to raise the baby. So Mega Legend. I think of, why be ordinary when you could be legendary? If you just step out there, I'm not telling everybody to go out and take a bullet, right? But if you just do something that's more legendary, I think that more people out there can take a page out of that book. Like, why be ordinary? Whether it's everyday life, whether it's striving to do something excellent, upgrading your work, your job, your career, whatever it is that you want to do, changing your marriage, being more legendary. To me, legendary is something that people will always remember you by. So I created the name based off of my nephew and what happened to him. Why be ordinary? We could be legendary, Mega Legend. So that's a big legacy that he left behind. I also want to continue that with Mega Legend Cigars. So That's the name.
Yeah. You got some big boots to fill there, man, to do that for sure.
Yeah, for sure.
When you started this process and you got into the factory, what was some of the most notable things that you learned that maybe you didn't know about making cigars, the process?
Well, I didn't know how much work goes into it. Like, when we look at these things, we think, oh, it's a cigar, it's tobacco, it's a leaf, it's rolled. I didn't realize the process that goes into it until I actually went to the factory and I spent a lot of time out there. Because before I ever came out with this blend, I spent a ton of time in the factory with my guys out in Costa Rica and just seeing the process, because they actually, the tobacco comes from Ecuador.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, once the factory receives it from Ecuador, or whether it be Dominican Republic, Nicaragua, Peru, Brazil, once they receive it, the whole entire operation is there in Costa Rica. So what I realized is, I'm like, man, it's a lot of work that goes into this. I mean, at least 200 to 300 hands touch this in the life of a cigar. Before we get it, there's so many hands that touch the cigar from the time that it's planted, the time that it's, planted into the soil, taken care of, harvested, and then sent over to where it's going. It's so many people that receive it and do all of their things that they do to make this cigar what it is. So what I realize is that, man, smoking a cigar it's art, right? So when I see people smoke cigars, and some people just like smash it down and they, tear the cigar up and things like that, or they leave like, 3/4 of the cigar left in the tray. I'm like, do you realize how much work went into that cigar?
Yeah, like you disrespect, in my book, you disrespect the handcrafters that are involved in this process. Like when I watch somebody cut a cap, and I watch them cut way below the line where the outer rim around the cap is.
Right.
It's like, do you realize there's got to, the Rolero, when he rolls that wrapper on there and finishes that cap, he does that so nicely for you, because you cut it right above the shoulder. If you're not punching it, right, you cut it right below the shoulder there, right there. And that little piece of leaf is put on there to keep it from unraveling. All right. And that guy is very skilled at doing that. I mean, try to do that yourself. I'm sure you've experimented. You sat at the table and you realize how hard it is just to get a wrapper on a binded cigar, let alone try to put that little piece of leaf around it. And then, so respect that the art, the craft that goes into making these every day. Like you said, 300 hands. And, did you get an opportunity to go to the fields?
So I have been to the fields. And the fields, that's a whole nother experience in itself. Completely different experience in itself. Yeah.
I mean, going into, I'm sure you were in the processing facilities where the pilons are, where you got into the barns. Explain to everybody. Whenever I get somebody on the show that is making a cigar and they've gone down to fields and factories and farms and things, explain the smell of walking in to a curing barn when everything's hanging to dry.
Yeah. No,
what does that smell like?
That's different. The thing that comes to mind to me is different. Like, it's not like anything else you've ever smelled. It's not like anything else you ever smelled. So it's different depending on whether you are accustomed to smoking cigars or whether you aren't at all. If you go in there for a tour and it's your very first time going, I'm not sure what they feel about it and what they think, right? But when I go there and I smell it, it's appreciation. I smell appreciation.
Oh, well, yeah, but I mean, just the basic aroma is just the aroma, the sweetness of the tobacco as it's curing, hanging in the barn. And when I do a review, sometimes I get that aroma on the leaf, on the wrappers. I'm smelling. I'm like going, this smells like a curing barn, right?
Yeah.
And if you've never been in a curing barn, you have no idea what I'm talking about.
Right.
But you do.
That cocoa, that coconut, like you smell all of that. You sense that, Yeah, no, it's a very unique flavor. When you smell it, you recognize it. But, once again, like people that don't pick up on it, they don't have that ability to grasp that sense. But if you should be able to sense it. So
when you started the blending, so did you take this blending process from rolling fumas and just smoking a leaf and tasting leaf by leaf?
I did. I did that. My guys are professional. The guys out in Costa Rica, man, like, I know when most people, you hear Costa Rica, you think like, oh, well, what do they really know? What do they know about? They know a lot. Because like I said, the family's Ecuadorian. And I mean, these guys are like by the book. Every single thing they do is quality. So they sat me down and they showed me the different levels to cigars, the leaves, the wrappers, the fillers, the binders, everything. They showed me that. I've seen from level to level before I even designed my first cigar, what the difference would be, whether it's shade grown, sun grown, what portion of the plant you need to get it from for if you want this or if you want that. So when I came up with my blend, like it was chemistry. It was everything all together. It was everything combined together. And we came up with the stick that I felt was good enough for people to enjoy. And I'm happy with it. I'm very happy with it.
What is the feedback that you've gotten? Now, we talked last week about, you're not radically out there yet, so you'll get there. But the feedback from folks that have now smoked a cigar, have smoked numerous cigars, and not somebody the first time, but somebody who's a normal kind of everyday cigar smoker like us. What was their reaction? What was some of their feedback?
I would tell you this. I'm pleased to say that the feedback has been great. One of the most consistent feedbacks that I've gotten is that the structure and the integrity of the cigar is really good. Really good. I've had people come up to me and say, "Hey, this cigar reminds me of a Superfly, a Scaro, Oscar." I've heard people say double Ligero. Like people talk about the cigars. And
wait, what did you say? Okay, you got to get educated now. Did you just say Ligero? All right, you ain't been down in the Dominican and Costa Rica long enough. Let's practice the word. Let's practice the word Ligero. Ligero. Practice the word.
Ligero.
If you're going to be in the cigar business, my brother, you damn well better say it correctly, and they're going to push you out the door.
and like I said earlier, Jimmie, I'm always learning. So
absolutely,
I've been saying that, and nobody's corrected me. So thank you.
Well, I'm correcting you publicly. I'm sorry I'm doing that, but
it's okay.
That is a pet peeve of mine.
But the mentions and the comparisons of certain cigars, like I smoke those cigars, and I'm like, man, okay, well, if you think it's comparable to that, then that's telling me I'm doing something right. I got some people that my friend Lou out of Atlanta, when she smokes the Lancero, she says that it makes her want to do something strange for a little piece of change, whatever that.
Wow. I don't know if I got quite that feeling when I smoked it, but
I hope not.
I did enjoy it. I smoked another one just the other day, and I was like, let me remind myself about this cigar. And I didn't want to smoke one on the show because I wanted to smoke this one again, because by the time I smoked this at Life and Times, we were late into the evening. I already had a few cigars. It was, it was a smoky room at the time. There were 200 people there, and it just wasn't conducive to just sitting back and just enjoying the moment with the cigar. So this is much better. To be able to relax and enjoy, and of course we'll put some reviews up. So you got some fans that are tuned into the Zoom here. Besides those that are probably watching it on Facebook, who are some of these folks that were?
I can't see anybody. I don't know. I don't know who's joined. I just see you.
So like Cigar Rockstar is on here. I asked some folks to join their video. Okay, so I got Cigar Rockstar, and I got Kiona Bateman, I got Hamar, I got Naomi McCormick, and I got 2. # Girl Day.
Yeah, I don't know.
Let's why can't you see these? You can see him. You can see 2. You see 2.
Okay, I can see it now. Okay, I got you. I can see it now. I had to slide the screen over.
Let me ask 2 to unmute himself. Introduce yourself.
What's going on, Jimmie?
How you doing?
JB know me? I'm good, man. This royalty cigars, I've been learning a lot from JV. Yeah, I'm working on my own blend as well. A lot of people tried it, peaches. I was there Life and Times last Saturday.
Oh yeah,
he was there.
Yeah. I probably rubbed elbows a few times. It was pretty crowded.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I always support my man Mega Legends whenever I can, man. drove to Augusta for him. You know, I
Yeah.
tried a lot of his sticks. Like, I be learning a lot from him. You know, I'll always asking questions.
All right. Very good. Very good. And like I said, we got Cigar Rockstar on. He comes in once in a while. At these events I've been to, I've seen him at numerous events, either in Atlanta. I think I might have met him also in might have been one of the herfs down in Miami. So
Cigar Rockstar, man. That's my guy. Larry's a good guy too. He so it's weird to me whenever somebody new in the business that's just getting in, you know, they come in and they ask me questions about stuff, because I'm like, yo, I'm so new to this that I'm like just a year and a half, 2 years from where you are right now. That's, you know, I'm there, but you know, I appreciate it, because, like, you know, the guys that come in and want to know stuff, I'm like, all I can do is pass along information that I've acquired so far. And so the information that I've acquired thus far, I give it, you know, wholeheartedly. I pass that information along, and I wish them the best. I never look at anything as, you know, competition or, oh, this may hurt my business. I'm not that guy. So Larry, Royalty Cigars, I can't wait till he gets his line going, and then I'll be on your live, you know, with Jimmie, and I'll be watching you.
and you know, especially small brands like yours, there can never be enough small brands in my book. And don't get me wrong, not every small brand is good. Okay, some of them,
Right.
They need a lot of work. All right.
Yeah.
I don't talk about the ones that need a lot of work. I talk about the ones that really hit me and I go, yes, this needs to be discussed. All right. People need to be aware of this particular cigar. But what's really important is, when you have small brands out there, it's good to get them out, because everybody then gets an opportunity to try some new things, and they get to expand their palate. And if you're sharing and people sharing to, like, hey, try this guy's blend, try that, it grows. It helps grow this business
right
across the board. And there's room for everybody. All right.
I
Just
agree.
get out there, and because there's so many shops. Like the show I had 2 weeks ago, with Marvin Sammel. Marvin Sammel was the co-founder of Drew Estate with Jonathan Drew way back in the day. And when they sold the company, he kind of left the cigar industry. Jonathan stayed, obviously, but he went and he made a movie, right? And I don't talk about that here today. You can watch that show. But one of the things we said in that was, he's the guy, him and a guy like Jonathan Drew is somebody that everybody in his industry would look up to and say, I want to be like that. I mean, how do I get to be a company that gets sold for millions of dollars after spending decades building it and continually grow it? And the answer is pretty simple. 18 hours a day, nonstop, 7 days a week. You're on vacation. You're still thinking about it. It's always, always, always. You are married to your brand. You are your brand. You represent your brand. And you're on that road constantly, going to visit shops, opening up shops. It is a grind, and it never ends. But it's a passion, so it shouldn't be hard work. It's just a love.
Right. I agree with you. I agree with you on that. And to piggyback off of that, man, that's where you find the separation between those that get into the business for something completely different than those that have passion behind it. If you have passion for this business, and then you're okay with a last minute, you know, hey, could you come and show up for this, or can you come and do this event or that? Because I appreciate anyone that's willing to use my product, but furthermore, market my product and say, hey, we like your product so much, we want you to come out and be a part of the Sticks and Shores, for example, in Dominican Republic. Like, I wasn't completely prepared for it. I wasn't. But when she asked me to come and join, you know, my passion behind it wouldn't allow me to disappoint, you know, myself. I wasn't going to say, oh, well, you know, I can't do it because of X, Y, Z. If you knew the amount of challenges that I went through to get the cigar here sponsored, the quantity of cigars, and to have my labels on time, the cigars on time, everything that went into it was a sacrifice. And I thank my support system behind me for that. I have a great support system, and they make sure that when I need certain things to get done, how can we help? You know, that's that support system that I love. So the love for it is absolutely 100% correct, Jimmie, and that's what I have. I enjoy it so much that even when not making money, I still enjoy it. Like I could be dead broke, and I'm like, man, you know what? I'm having a good time. People
Hey,
love it,
if nothing else, you have a lot of cigars of your own to smoke.
Exactly. Hey, that part, yeah. And I love them. So,
all right, I'm gonna take a little commercial break. It's about 4 minutes. Just sit back, enjoy the cigar, get yourself a drink, and we'll be right back after I give a shout out and help pay some of the bills to run the show. And today's show is brought to you by Casa Cuevas Cigars. In the 19th century, Juan Cuevas, Spanish immigrant from Santander, began what was to be a family business which now spans 4 generations. Like others fortunate enough to live and work in Pinar del Rio province of Cuba, Juan commenced cultivating tobacco, turning it into a successful business. Following in his father's footsteps, his son Juan Jr. continued with the family business, successfully expanding it until events which took place in 1959 forced a dramatic change. Years later, in the Ciabo Valley of the Dominican Republic, Luis Cuevas Sr., Juan Jr.'s son, carried on the family tradition of handcrafting fine cigars in the family's cigar factory, Tabacalera Las Lavas. Today, Luis Sr. is joined by his son Luis Jr. in the manufacturing and sale of premium long filler cigars at their factory, Tabacalera Las Lavas in Santiago, Dominican Republic. So check out Casa Cuevas Cigars at www.casacuevascigars.com and on their Instagram and Facebook channels.
Light your next cigar? Be sure to check out Cigarmatics, the makers of the patent-approved humidimeter. The humidimeter is a tool designed to display the relative humidity inside your cigar. With this device, there's no more guessing. Simply insert the probes into the foot or cap of your cigar, and you can instantly know if your cigar is ready to be smoked. Buy now on Cigarmatics.com and see site for other cigar accessories. With the humidimeter, you'll know when to hold them and know when to smoke them.
And today's show is brought to you by Bocock Brothers Cigars, a new and active brand founded by 2 Honduran brothers, Bryant and Douglas Bocock. The brand zeroes in on those folks that are looking for easy-to-smoke cigars inspired by unusual circumstances. Very importantly named after their very interesting and imitable last name, Bocock. Right now, Bocock Brothers is featuring their signature edition, made at the A.J. Fernandez factory in Esteli, Nicaragua. It features an Ecuadorian Sumatra wrapper, a Nicaraguan Habano binder, and a Nicaraguan filler. Available in 3 popular formats, a Robusto, a Toro, and a Gordo. You can check out Bocock Brothers Cigars at www.bocockbrothers.com. And today's show is brought to you by Platinum Nova Cigars. Platinum Nova is a family-owned and operated premium cigar company. Only the highest vintage tobacco and the most skilled hand workmanship go into the making of each Platinum Nova cigar. This results in a timeless blend of art and craftsmanship. The Nova brand and the family's work are a tribute and an honor to their grandfather to always remember him and his infinite passion for the finest cigars. Their love for cigars started with their grandfather, a dedicated master blender and entrepreneur in the cigar industry. So the next time you're looking for that exquisite cigar experience, pick up a Platinum Nova. You can check them out at Platinum Nova Cigars, www.novacigar.com, and on their Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter channels. All right. I got one last thing we got to talk about before we get back to the show because this is important and it's coming up fast. So let me just share this for everybody. You know where it's going. Those have been watching. Decline for Autism. I want to thank everybody who has donated to date. We have raised, and in the cigar community primarily, over $8,000 to help autism. This is not ended. This continues to go until July 13th and 14th when I climb that mountain with my son. If you don't know about this yet, you can go to StogiePress.com. You can go to the Climb for Autism, and you'll see this article talks a little bit about my son and what he did in neurobiological research to get his PhD on the autism spectrum, and a little story about why. You can click this link, or you can scan that barcode. Want to scan that QR code, right now? You can scan it. Either one of these will take you to this page where you can donate. We have now raised $8,011. I'm trying to get this up to $10,000 before we go, so we'll see what we can do. I want to give a big shout out to Johnny Smokes Uncut because his fan base have raised $2,500, and they are going to be getting, unless somebody surpasses $2,500 as a brand or a group or an individual or a shop, they're going to get the JSU flag planted on the top of Mount Fuji when we reach the summit. So get out there, help us out, do whatever you can. We look forward to doing this, and I'm looking forward to writing this article because we've done amazing things. So let's come back to the show. And if you unmute yourself there, JB.
Gotcha.
All right. Yeah, so that was big. We raised some money last week at Life and Times too.
Yeah, that's pretty cool, man. I love it. I love what you're doing, man. The cause, why be ordinary when you can be legendary? I think that, that can fit with everything.
It does, man.
Yeah.
You got to do things, and the older you get, I begin to realize it's time to give back a lot. So I have reach. Let's use it. Let's use it for goodness. And
that's right.
That's kind of what this is all about. I did get a question in the chat while we were talking. Chris Colter, one of my loyal followers, lives in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. He wants to know where can he get his hands on that Lancero?
Yeah, so actually Dallas-Fort Worth has them at Blowing Smoke Cigar Lounge. Edwina Brown, she carries it over near, Lancaster. She's over in that area, and they have a great, phenomenal lounge. To check it out, she has boxes, Lanceros, the Gordos. She's got them all.
All right, so there you go.
Yeah.
So you're in the DFW area. Where else are you located besides Dallas and Atlanta market?
In Atlanta, yeah. You can find me in Charleston, South Carolina, at Blowing Smoke Cigar Lounge. It's a speakeasy. It's a really cool spot. They have them. You can find them in Richmond, Virginia, at RVA Tobaccos. Ree's Cigar Room. You can find them also in Augusta, Georgia. Let's see where else. You can find it in, you can find it all over Atlanta, like different parts of Atlanta. Costa Rica, if you ever visit Costa Rica, there's a lounge there called 9N. The number 9 and then the letter N as in Nancy. You can find the cigars in Costa Rica as well. So, yeah.
Very nice. Now, what's your next market that you're going after?
So right now I'm working on, and I'll have next market. I have a Robusto coming out that I'm going to add to my portfolio, and pretty much between that and pushing my apparel, I have a designer that's working on a new design for the t-shirts and hats and all that good stuff. So that's something that I'm working on right now. That'll be being pushed and put out there within the next month or so.
Okay, but like I mean, as far as when I say market, I'm saying as far as demographic. What next state
okay.
are you looking at?
Okay,
regions.
Yeah, I got you. Jimmie. I mean, I'm sure there's so much there's so many opportunities and places to market in Atlanta itself. Like I'm really, wanting to focus on my own hometown and do a lot more work in the area, because I did a lot of international travel and then traveling all around different states. But I would really like to get into Florida. I would really like to have to see the sticks in Florida more. I'm working with a guy. It's been on hold for a second, but there's a guy called was a company called Primo beverage store, and they carry tons of great selection of cigars. And so if I can get into their stores, that's 8 stores in itself, just in the Fort Lauderdale and Miami area.
All right.
Yeah.
I would say that's a good start.
Yeah.
To get it out there.
Yeah.
Obviously, try to look around, find some shops. Besides that, I mean, Florida is a ginormous market for cigars. So you can't be in all the shops, but
no, I can't be in all of them.
Little bit by little bit. But Tennessee.
A wise man told me just recently that if I can, within 5 years, be in at least 400 stores, and that I'll be doing pretty good for myself. So,
smart guy that told you that.
Yeah, that was a smart guy.
That's correct. If you can in 5 years be in 400 shops and it's and their reorders coming in, the importance is the reorders. It means your cigars are selling. You got consumers that are enjoying them. Shops are enjoying the fact that they're moving. They're flying. They may not be flying off the shelf, but they're going off the shelf, and then you have to reorder them.
That's right. Yeah.
What is a do you do a lot of events at your shop on these shops?
I do. I do a ton of events. So right now I do my own boat trips. So cigar brunch in Georgia, Ackworth, Alatoona Lake. So we put boats together, man, and we go out. We have a great time. Smoke fest. I provide the brunch. I provide the drink. I provide all of that good stuff, and people just come out. We have a good time, and it's just a lot of networking. A lot of people come out and meet folks that could definitely be long-term benefits to each other.
Now, when you have an event at a shop, okay, because we know that everybody in the cigar business, you sell to a shop, and then you got to go to the shop and help them sell you cigars. That's just the model. Right. That's how it works.
Absolutely.
What is a Mega Legends event like at a shop?
It's fun. Like a Mega Legend event at a shop is, I'm a family-oriented guy. So when you come to an event, you get me in rare form. Like I'm that guy where when you come in, I'm gonna treat you like family, no matter who you are. You're gonna get a lot of smiles, a lot of laughs, and you're gonna get the genuine version of myself.
Like last week. Fun. Last week when we met.
Yeah.
Happy smile.
big smile, man. Because when you're doing something that you love and you love what you're doing, how could you not be excited, every day to show up and do that, Exactly. So at these events, man, like I'm happy, I'm excited. Like my mind is completely on what I'm there for. There's nothing else on my mind that's bothering me or taking me away from the events itself. And I'm just there. I'm educating people. I'm learning more. Also, even at my own events, I'm learning stuff all the time. But it's fun though. It's a really good time. It's a great time. The hospitality is next level. So when you come to one of the Mega Legend events, just know that you're going to leave knowing the name Mega Legend. Like you're going to know all about it.
Now, before you made cigars, obviously you were smoking cigars. It's not the first time you smoked a cigar. What was your palate at? What kind of cigars did you enjoy as far as strength, body, flavor, that you enjoy?
So my first cigar was something like it was out of the country. I'm sorry. I was on a cruise, and on the cruise, they had some Gurkhas. And the guy put me onto a Gurkha, but it was like a cognac infused or dipped.
Okay, I know which one.
Yeah, and so what I got was it was a decent cigar for me first time, and I had no problem with the strength at all. I didn't think it was that strong. I had some not so authentic Cohibas, that was pushed to me. You know, when you go out of the country to different places and they come up to you with boxes of Cohibas and they want to sell them to you for $100.
Especially with the glass
top.
top. Especially
With the glass top.
Yeah,
Yeah, with the glass top. If you don't know any better, you're like, oh, I got some real Cubans, you know. So I was smoking those, man. After a while, smoking, I said, you know, and certain people that were smoking with me, like they look at them and look at me and like, so you said these are Cubans? Like, I thought they were. I don't know.
You ever cut one open and see what you're actually smoking?
Of those, no, not of those, because once I realized that I wasn't smoking, but yeah, I have cut open cigars and been like, okay, now that I'm in the business, I definitely cut open cigars and I say, okay, well, you know, let me look at the quality of this. I want to see, you know, what this tobacco's really like. Is it short? Is it long? Is it premium? Is it not premium? You know, I want to make sure that it's you know what it's advertised to be. But yeah, those were like how I started out. You know, some of those offshore cigars that were, you know, just kind of like, you know, put out there.
So you bring up an interesting point. How do you know the difference between a premium leaf and non-premium leaf when you look at it?
For me, I think a premium leaf, you can tell by the way it burns. If it burns, you know, properly, if it burns properly and it has like, you know, that color to it around the edges, around the tip, if it has the type of ash that you see that comes from the cigar, I think that lets you know in itself if it's a real cigar and if it's premium. The ash, and you actually told me this, I've heard it before, but if that ash is holding the way that it should hold between, you know, an inch to an inch and a half, like that's a good stick. That's a good quality stick, you know?
Yeah, you don't want ashes falling half inches at a time. It's disgusting. It gets all over you. Your clothes get dirty because you're not expecting it. You know, new cigar, I expect it to hold at least an inch before I tap it, and then I'll test it because
for sure.
Nicole,
I see my. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Go ahead. Say it.
No, I was just going to introduce one of my ambassadors out of the DMV area, Nicole, with Mega Legend Cigars. She's on, so thank you for joining. Yeah, Nicole, how you doing?
Hello. Hey, JB. Hello, everyone.
How are you?
I am wonderful. How are you?
So what is the job of a Mega Legend ambassador?
The job of a Mega Legend ambassador is fun because guess what? We get to share what we like, right? And we love Mega Legend.
There you go.
So it's nothing like talking about something you love and, you know, sharing with the world, those that you meet in passing. So yeah, it's fun. It's fun. This is what we like. Cigars are life.
And how long have you been smoking cigars, Nicole?
I've been smoking cigars for about 4.5 years now.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you've obviously.
So I still consider myself a newbie because it's still so much to learn, you know.
Every day.
But yeah, about 4.5 years now. How about yourself?
Myself? I've been smoking cigars for 43 years.
Wow.
At least 43. Yeah.
Dude's only 52 years old. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, I'm climbing that mountain. I'll be almost 64 years old. So
awesome.
Look at that. Impressive.
That's awesome.
So for all the people out
good.
So for all the people out there that's questioning the health of us cigar smokers, look at Boston Jimmie. This guy's climbing mountains at 64. So what I mean, come on.
And when I get to the top of that mountain, besides all the other photo ops and things we're doing, there will be one that I'm turning into a meme that I'm going to share, and I hope it goes viral. I hope you all just take this and run with it because it's going to say very simply, this is Boston Jimmie, who's lost over 80 pounds in a little over a year. He got in shape, works out 3 to 4 times a week. He's 64 years old. He climbed a 13,000-foot mountain, and he smokes 3 to 4 cigars a day. Any questions?
Now, take that. You're right. Any questions? Take that.
Period. All right, stop it. Drop the mic. Forget about it. Okay. This is not the problem.
That's all. That's it. Okay. That's all. The end.
Yeah. I told somebody today in the pool, they said, they were asking my wife and they said, hey, so you don't smoke cigars? And she was like, no. And they were like, well, good. Absolutely don't do it. Da, da, da. I said, well, now that's kind of cigar shaming. I said, I'm not going to shame you for not smoking cigars. I said, you could jump in your car and it's way more dangerous driving in Atlanta on the highways than smoking a cigar if you're worried about that, so.
Right. So, and you always learn. Like I said, I've been doing this for a very long time. I've been doing, my site itself is going on 10 years. We're getting close to over 1 million views now since we started. I've got the show's been running now for 4 years. And even when I bring on people that have been in this industry for a long time, I'm always learning something. There's always something new that you learn.
Congrats to you too, man. Like on your success with this. Like you have a very successful, promising platform. And hey, I'm just, like I said, I'm humbled and I'm excited to be welcomed on to the show. So big ups to you for doing what you love. And I can tell you also have a passion behind it, because now it's not just the cigar smoking, right? Like you're doing also the part that you love, which is, meeting people, talking to them, and doing it on a broad range, so that's pretty cool.
And every week you do it. Every day I'm working my site. There's things go on all the time. I go, I go out to, I have the weird status when I walk out into lounges and people meet me. Sometimes I go to events sometimes and people come over to me, and I am terrible with names. I don't forget faces, but I'm terrible with names. And people go, "Hey, boys and Jimmie." I'm like, "Hey, how are you?" And I apologize to everybody if that happens, because I am terrible with names. And the older I get, trust me, I can't. Like I was talking to a friend of mine today who's kind of growing a beard out, and I looked at him and I was like, "You remind me of an actor." And I sitting there and I'm going, and it's like, it's right here, but I can't figure it out. I can't get it out of my head. And that's just old age, man. It's just.
Well, I mean, if everybody had more catchy names like yourself, like, Boston Jimmie, if I was if I was ATL JB or, something like that, like, people got more names that stick with folks. I think that'll help too. So
that's it. That's right.
Yeah.
Boston Jimmie, born and raised in New York, lives in Florida. I'm an enigma.
Hey, so Jimmie, what made you come up with the name Boston Jimmie?
That's a long story, and most people have heard it, but I'll give you the abridged version. Okay. Born and raised in New York, went to college in Brooklyn, was a big Yankees fan back in the day, grew up in a Mets household. Father and I we'd get into it all the time. And then I moved to Boston right out of college from 81 to 84. I tell people I was born in New York, but my soul was born in Boston, because I went up there with an engineering degree. I had an engineer's salary in 81. Engineers always get paid good money right out of college. And I was living the life of Riley. I enjoyed the crap out of my time up there. I experienced things, new, better things, not just, cigars, whiskey, wine, food, but then just, going out to a play up there, which I could have did in New York too, but I didn't. I didn't have any money. Up there, I kind of did it. So I fell in love with it. Then I went to a Red Sox game with friends of mine, newfound friends, and I walked in with a Yankee hat on, and they told me, "You're going to get killed." They weren't even playing the Yankees.
So hey.
And then three more games later, I ended up having a Red Sox hat on. I said, "That's it." I fell in love with Fenway, and then I moved back to New York. And when I moved back to Long Island, all my friends started calling me, making fun of me, calling me Boston Jimmie. And I took a job with a company in Long Island, aerospace company called Grumman Aerospace. They're the guys that put the lunar module on the moon and the F-14 and all that cool stuff. And they started an operation down here in Florida, and they were looking for volunteers to go. And I said, "Hey, I'm good. I'm young. Let's go." I told my family, we're going to move to Florida. I've been here since 87. But we moved 600 New Yorkers down. So I came down with the name Boston Jimmie. So it stuck. So when I started this thing about 10 years ago, I go, let me just go with it and use that. And it's been successful. And like most people don't even know my last name. They don't know what they just know me as Boston Jimmie.
but how is that working with your friends, like your, your close friends and family? Like, how do they feel about that? The ones that, that's from New York as well. Like, I mean,
They don't.
Boston, New York.
They're fine. They some people just they make fun of you. Yeah, traitor, this and that. I said, yeah, but I left kind of the Yankees when I began to realize that Steinbrenner was screwing up baseball with the salary he was paying, and he was trying to buy championships. Now, admittedly, the Red Sox and others are all on that page. The Mets. They'd spend ridiculous money. I mean, I'm on board with like the Rays are doing with a $79 million salary compared to the $300 million plus that the Mets pay, and they're in first place playing 700 baseball. We're going into July, and they have no salary, so you don't have to have a lot of money to win games. Now, story will be told if they win the championship this year. We'll wait and see. But they're at least putting on a great show for their fans. And that stadium has now actually begun to get close to sellout because they still, even on their good runs, they weren't selling out their stadium, which is frightening for a baseball team that powerful. So, yeah, I was all kind of against that. And then so that kind of helped me make that choice. But in the end, hey, you know what? I still have New York blood in me. Believe me, I am, other than the baseball part of this and that soul, there's still a bit of New York in me. You're still not going to beat New York pizza. I don't give a crap where you are. Okay. New York pizza is still going to be the best pizza in the world. Okay. We can argue hot dogs all day long between Chicago and New York, but I'll still take a dirty water hot dog in New York or some bread hot dog on a potato bun with red onions, which nobody knows about outside of New York.
So what's Boston known for you guys' food? Like, what food are you guys known for?
Oh man, the Boston has so much. I mean, obviously their seafood is to die for. All right.
Okay.
They have a phenomenal Italian section, Little Italy down there in the North End, which is just some of the best Italian food in general. I'm not going to say their pizza is as good as what I got in New York, but it comes close. Right. But the rest of the food is great. Lobster, crab, oysters. I mean, you get a lot of great oysters up there, right? But one thing about Boston, and even outside of Boston, I live about 25 miles outside of Boston, and every pub you go into, the food was just phenomenal. I never had bad food when I was in Boston. Okay, go into a small place, even if you went to, there was a VFW we would go to on Fridays for lunch. And they made the most incredible hamburgers in the world. I mean, they were thick, big, thick burgers with all the toppings and everything on it. And it was like dirt cheap. And it's like, I don't know how they're doing this, but we're going to keep going. All right.
Shit. Okay.
And they got great beer. And they got Sam Adams beer. So.
Okay. Now, I was wondering when you were going to talk about the beer. So who has the best beer?
Seattle.
Domestic beer. Who has the best domestic beer?
I think Seattle has some amazing beer.
Which beer? Which beer? Which name? Which brand?
Oh man, you can go down a whole list. I'll tell you what. One of the best beers I like is Arrogant Bastard from San Diego.
Is that a stout?
No, well, it's more of an IPA-ish kind of beer.
Oh, it's IPA. Okay.
But it's really high alcohol content. And they come in these big 22-ounce bottles.
Okay.
One of those is like drinking 4 beers in one. Okay, so it's really, really tasty.
Have you ever had an Allagash? Have you ever had an Allagash?
I haven't had Allagash.
Okay, yeah, that's high in content as well. What about Genesee? There's a beer that came out of New York, upstate. I think it's called Genesee.
Yep. Genesee beer. Yep.
It's kind of like a cream ale, right?
Cream, yeah, and it is a creamy beer.
Yeah, it's good though, right? It's a refreshing beer.
It is very refreshing. I'm a huge Guinness guy, so for me, if I'm out and there's Guinness, like last week I was drinking Guinness. So I mean, I just love Guinness. I love Guinness.
That's the only thing you drank that week.
Yeah, but it's low in calories. See, Guinness is low in calories, it's low in carbs, it's low in alcohol, believe it or not. Okay.
You had the extra stout at Life and Times. You had the extra.
Yeah, I had the extra stout, the one in the bottle, right?
Yeah, that thing is potent, man. I forgot how strong it is. And I started drinking. I said, shit, I forgot that this beer will set you down.
Well, believe it or not, it's an IPA. People don't know that. they don't broadcast it, but when you go
It's
to
an IPA.
when
Really?
you go to the storehouse in Dublin and you take the tour, one of the things they tell you that this is it's an IPA. It's not because it's technically an IPA because it is chock full of hops. The difference between a normal IPA with the hops and a Guinness is they really roast those hops in a way that takes all that bitterness out. And then
That's interesting. Okay.
the nitrogen stuff actually adds that creamy sweetness to it too. So I just love that beer. I mean, it's
so then do you prefer IPAs or like, I mean, is IPA your
depends
style?
on my mood. Depends on my mood. I mean,
Okay, like cigars. Yeah.
I could sit back like a good, you take a nice, good, bold cigar. I'll hunt for like a Trappist ale. Okay, a Trappist ale, served in one of those nice little snifter cups. Okay, yeah. That thing is like 9.2% alcohol, 10% alcohol. It's rich, it's bold, and it goes really well with a bold cigar. It really complements each other.
Okay.
So I could do that, but I'm all over the spectrum when it comes to. And I don't drink a lot anymore. Okay, since I've lost all this weight, that was one of my problems. I realized I couldn't. Like, I'm sitting here drinking Diet Coke right now. And like, I don't carry a lot of stuff in my house because if it's there, I drink it. Right. Like, I had a bottle of gin the other week when I did a show with my friend's show, and we were drinking martinis. And I realized I drank a pint of gin during the show. Not a good thing. Okay. And that gin sat in the bar for a week, and I finished it after a couple of nights later, and I got rid of it. I don't need it. Okay. I don't need it in me. But when I go out to drink things, I do love my wine. I do love I like tequila. Okay. I enjoy gin. I'm not a big vodka guy because I think vodka is just alcohol and juice you mix it in. So that doesn't turn
okay.
But a lot cordials. I mean, I get into some really good cordials. I'll take, like, I don't mind having a cream de mint, okay, with a cigar. I mean, that mint in a cigar, come on. It's, especially one that has that good dark chocolate in the cigar notes.
Yeah.
A little cream de mint. Just
so you're one of the people that believe in pairings. Like, you believe that you can pair a cigar with a particular drink and it helps complement one another.
Of course.
Okay.
And again, it's a palate thing too. Don't like, I'm also a big Scotch guy. Okay, huge Scotch. I love Scotch. All right. Scotch doesn't always like me, but I love Scotch. And I'm an Islay Scotch guy, so I love the dark, peaty Scotch. Things like Lagavulin, Oban. I love that stuff. Like if you drink that with a Pappy Van Winkle, wow, what an experience!
You gotta teach me more about the Scotch thing, man, because I'm just getting into it with the Scotch, and I like Macallan.
No. Well, see, when I was growing up, when I was in college, I was just drinking blended Scotches, Shivers, Dewars, Red Label. I never liked the Johnny Walker Black Label for some reason. Everybody likes it, but I always liked the red better than the black. Pinch was another one. And that's what I would drink all the time, right? And then years ago, I was at a party for a friend of mine. It was like his 40th birthday party. And he had a bottle of 35-year-old Macallan. And
35?
This is the 35? One that they do 20 years in oak, and then they put it into a sherry cask for 15 years to finish it. Anyway, he breaks this out, and he says, you ever have single malt, Jimmie? I said, no. I never did, right? Of all the things I've done, I never had single malt Scotch. So he pours me some, and I sipped it. He goes, just sip it. One little sip, my whole palate just fired up with flavor. I was like, oh, this is amazing.
Did you do the what is it called? The aerate? Did you aerate it when you
aerate it? He told me what to do, and I drank, and I'm like, I've been living under a rock. And then I went on this tear, and I was buying all these different Scotches, trying all different ones to find the ones I liked, and I settled on obviously the more peaty ones because I like bold in my mouth. And then I went to Ireland 5 years ago, and I got turned on to some amazing small batch, new distillery Irish whiskeys, some of which weren't even in the United States yet. Not Jameson's, Bushmills, and all of that. I'm talking about small craft distilleries. And then I came home and I started going crazy. I gave up on the Scotch for a while, and I went all around trying to find all different kinds of Irish whiskey. And I will tell you, if you want to try something amazing with a cigar, is you get red breast Irish whiskey. Okay?
Red Breast?
Red breast.
Red breast. Oh, okay, red breast.
It's got a rooster or whatever on it. And
I've had it. Wait a minute. I've had red breast. I've had that.
It's got this honey pepper note to it that just is smooth with a cigar. It's just heaven.
I was at Cigar Bank in McDonough, Georgia, and a guy named Don, he brought that out, and we had it. It was amazing.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it was amazing. He also put me on the Whistle Pig and a couple of other drinks that I was like, hey, I like those too. See,
so,
George.
So Michael Gilardi says Cabernet Franc with a bold cigar.
Cabernet Franc.
Cabernet Franc with a bold cigar.
Franc. Okay.
Bottle Ligic is good, according to Brian Lewis. Don't know what Bottle Ligic is, but I'll have to look it up. And then Anthony James, by the way, congratulations, Anthony. Anthony won the Wheel of Wonderfulness today, which is the normal one, but it was a special Father's Day one, so he gets extra goodies in his winning. But Anthony says, what pairs well with a Mega Legend cigar? Go.
Man, I got my ambassadors on. I want one of them to answer. So we got George. That's my other that's partner in crime with Nicole out of DMV. So George, what do you think, man? What pairs well with the Mega Legend cigar?
Oh wow, I think the Mega Legend cigar pairs well with the. I usually do it with the whiskey with the bullet. I think that it's got a berry on the end of it that really complements that the whiskey. Wolford is another one. We definitely smoke them with the old fashions all day. So sure.
Old fashioned, yeah. That's good. That's a good one. That's a good one. I personally like I like the Angel's Envy. I like that when I have a Mega Legend cigar. Well, it depends, because if I'm smoking a Lancero, I really love the Lancero with coffee. Like, man, I have that because the Lancero will already goddamn set you down, and then you need something to pick you back up. So that coffee will do that for you.
Hold on a second.
JB, don't forget about the Godfather.
Hey, look at right there. Oh yeah, the Godfather. You're right. Angel's Envy. Look, he got a bottle that's already tapped out. Angel's Envy.
Oh, gone.
Yeah.
Finished. I had that on a show a few weeks ago.
Yeah,
okay.
Dead Soldier.
How do you feel about the Eagles Rare? You like the Eagles Rare? You drink it? Anybody? Eagles Rare?
Yeah, for sure. I had a chance to go to Kentucky and go to the distillery with the Buffalo Trace, the Eagle Rare, the Pappy. Had a tasting. Found out that, learned a little bit about Buffalo Trace and how they do the Eagle Rare, and it's all about the barrels and where the barrels are placed in the cellar, and some get more light than the others. Yeah, it was really, really intense. So Eagle Rare is definitely some good stuff.
How about some Uncle Nearest?
I like the rye. I like the rye.
You like the rye? Yeah, the rye's not bad.
Yeah.
I'm not a rye guy, but I can handle that.
And I would have to say specifically the 1856.
Oh, hell yeah. Oh, yeah. Nicole, man, you're my jam. Thank you.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
You see why she's on the team, right? Nicole is special.
She's right on. That is some special stuff, man. But you brought up something important, George, is that even when you go to like distilleries, right, you see process there. And it reminds you of process of cigar making. The handcrafted things, the things that they're doing all these processes that people go through to create quality beverages, quality cigars, quality wine. It takes a lot of hands get involved in this stuff.
That's right. Yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely. I think it helps with once you go through a process like that, you do understand the quality and the time that goes into creating a product, and you have a much deeper appreciation when you partake, for sure.
That's cool. Yeah, that's what's up. Go ahead.
When did you have your first whiskey? Nobody's answering. My daddy gave me one when I was 13 years old.
Little George got to go way back. He digging back.
I never drank again.
Yeah, it wasn't that young. Wasn't that young? You special if you took it that young.
No, I didn't. I was just joking.
I did have, my family. I come from a family full of bourbon drinkers. So,
Okay.
Late at night at those 4th of July cookouts, man, somebody's got a glass and it looks a lot like tea. And, I think one of my uncles thought it would be funny to have a 16-year-old taste that, and it burned my tongue, lips, and all that. So, yeah, that was probably when I really started drinking it, I think, I was playing football in Canada, in Winnipeg, and those guys, and that's all they do in Canada, is snow and drink. So I got introduced to a lot of different, Craig, a lot of different whiskeys there. And that's where they late nights sitting up drinking some kind of dark whiskey and smoking cigars. So, yeah.
Hey, George went to college in Auburn. He played football for Auburn College, right? So did your drinking, did it really pick up or really start to get heavy in college at Auburn? That's a party college, right?
For the students, not for the student athletes. It was no drinking, there was no smoking. I was on a regimen. I had every time I look at the hour on my watch, I had somewhere I was supposed to be. So
right.
It really wasn't. After those games, it was more hunch punch. We didn't have no money then, so we was getting those hunch punch where they fill it up with Everclear, and you know what I mean. And we had bench tech at 10 o'clock. So it was only much after.
Yeah, I have to say my alcohol consumption increased when I was in college.
I got a few people that's trying to get in, Jimmie. They said they couldn't access. Said no access. So I guess if they don't sign on early enough, the SOL.
To what? To this?
To be able to join. Yeah, to join the live.
Tell them to try again. Maybe I wasn't watching the participants.
Okay.
It'll pop up. I have to admit them.
Okay.
They could try again. I have almost an unlimited license from Zoom, so it should be no problem. But that's, but cigars, I started, like I said, smoking cigars when I was in college. I smoked crappy cigars, don't get me wrong. I drank crappy whiskey, smoked crappy cigars, didn't have a lot of money.
You ever had a Tampa Nugget? It's called Tampa Nugget,
but I smoked a lot of Garsha Vegas.
Oh.
Okay. Those green cigars.
What does that taste like? Like now going back
like paper. No, they were nasty. They smelled nasty. They were nasty.
Damn.
But that's what we did. That White Owls and things you got at the drugstore, right? That's what
things you got at the drugstore.
You didn't discover stuff until you got a little older and you found out about a place called the Cigar Shop, which was like, wow, they have these. Because there wasn't any cigar shop that I know of near me. There was there was a local 5 and dime thing. The guy that had the soda fountain, the newspapers, and all of that. They didn't sell any quality cigars there. Okay, and most people, let's be real quality cigars. If you think about the cigar itself, right? In the 90s is when things really took off, right? The boom in the 90s. When I remember when my father hit the shelf for the first time.
My father, yeah.
And Cigar Aficionado had just come out, and I think they reviewed one. And everybody's, my friends that were cigar smokers, we'd read Cigar Aficionado, and there were some shops we would go to locally, and my father came out and was like, wow, this sounds really good. And we get those, and it was like, man, these are awesome cigars. And there you go, little tiny company, right? New to the map. Boom, where are they today? Right? So you could be a legend. All you got to do is work hard at it.
Man, I like that. That's inspiring for the little guys out there.
Everybody was a little guy. Drew would say Jonathan Drew was a little guy. He was slinging cigars in the World Trade Center at a kiosk, right?
Yeah.
And how he got started. And then he ended up going down to Nicaragua. He literally slept in the factory for the first year and a half. He lived in the factory. Okay. And that's what he did. And worked every day to do what he had to do. That's how he got to be where he is today.
I met him at TPE this year. Cool family, man. It was nice to meet him.
Yeah. He's also a really big art collector. He loves to collect a lot of street art.
Okay.
So he has some amazing art in his apartment, I understand, everywhere.
Okay.
Supports that community in a big way.
So briefly, real quick, I mean, I don't want to turn it into my interview, me interviewing you rather, but
we're beyond the hour, so we could talk about anything we want to talk now.
So tell me what in a cigar for you, for Boston Jimmie, what do you what is it about a cigar where you'll say, okay, I really enjoy that cigar? Like, I know you have a whole point system on how you review cigars. So you personally,
independent of my rating, because I got to talk about my palate, right? Which I don't bias my reviews with. I love a nice medium strength cigar that has levels of creaminess, a bit of sweetness to it, some pepper and spice, but I want it balanced with that natural sweetness as it's going through. Maybe some fruit, maybe some nuttiness. That's what I like in a cigar. I want that cigar. I am a big Lancero guy. I love my Lanceros. If it's not a Lancero, I like Coronas, and I like Robustos and Toros. You can put a torpedo in that. I'm not a big ring gauge cigar guy. I just don't like. I'm not a regular smoker of them. And when you're smoking the slightly smaller ring gauges and you go to the big ring gauge, you got to know how to smoke that cigar, right? I mean, your puff rate's going to be different. Right. If you're a big ring gauge, if you're smoking 60s all the time and somebody gives you a Lancero, you're going to burn that like a cigarette because you're going to smoke it too fast, and you're not going to appreciate what that Lancero really gives you.
That's true.
I try to make every cigar I'll take a Toro. A Toro, like, for me, it's an hour and 40 minute smoke. I smoke slow. I used to smoke fast. And I got called out on it. And I'll just give you a bit of education. Smoke slow, because you're going to get more flavor as you smoke slow. I don't want it to smoke so slow that it goes out. So sometimes you got to date the cigar, take it out on a couple of dates and find out exactly the right puff rate for it. But you want to slow your burn, and you're going to get a lot more flavor. There's a competition that runs worldwide every year, called the Cigar Smoking World Championship. And the Cigar Smoking World Championship is designed around a single cigar. It's actually a Rocky Patel Corona. It's called a Mareva. It's a special cigar for this event. And what you do is, it's who can smoke that the longest without it going out. And then you have to carry an ash for the first 20 minutes of that journey. Okay.
Oh, wow.
If the ash drops, you lose points. You're not disqualified, but you lose some points on your time. So a Corona, right? 4.5 inches, right? There's a band on it that's tightly on. You can't move the band on it. So you figure between the head of the cigar and the band line is about an inch. So it's 3.5 inches. Think about that. 3.5 inches. I smoked that cigar. It took me 2 hours and 10 minutes to smoke that Corona. And it never went out. And I won the championship at my local lounge. I went to the Rocky Patel event in Pennsylvania at their lounge, the Burn Lounge there, and I came in second, only because I got a draw problem midway through, and I had to puff harder to get it burning through, and then it picked up, and by then, the other guy was already ahead of me. So if that didn't happen, I was on record time. I would have been like 2 hours and 30 minutes on that. The guys that win this internationally, so what happens is they go over to whoever wins in each country, they go over to Croatia, where they have the international competition. The guys that win it over there, they're taking that Corona. They have times of 3 hours and 40 minutes.
No.
Think about it. 3 hours and 40 minutes to smoke a Corona without it ever going out. And the way they do it, they have a technique. Oh, and you can't burn the band. If you burn the band, boom.
Are you disqualified or you lose a point?
I think you disqualify if you burn the band. Okay. So what happens is what they've learned to do is they get it down near the band. And I practice this and I got it a little bit, but I can't perfect it, where they slow their burn puff rate and they get it to tunnel. So they get it to burn in the middle, just the inside fill, and they burn under the band without burning the binder or the wrapper. And they're able to actually have it down after the band, and they're still smoking it. All right. 3 hours.
Wait a minute. So wait. So how? So you said so mostly the combustion is in the center. It's in the middle of
They get it near the end of the journey before the band. They get it to stop burning the binder and the wrapper.
How though?
You got to puff slowly, and you got to kind of do a couple of fast puffs and then a couple of slow puffs. And you want to get it to where you're no longer seeing anything burning on the edge, and you can start to get it to do that. Okay?
Oh,
you would never burn a cigar like that on a normal day because it tastes like garbage.
So essentially what you're doing is you're getting the outside to cool down, but the inside is staying heated up.
That's right. They are very skilled at this. I've seen the videos of this. And
wow.
It's pretty phenomenal.
Okay. That's interesting. Did any of y'all ever heard of that? Nicole, Larry, Cigar, Rockstar, y'all ever heard of that?
No, I feel like I need lessons.
You and me both. I've never heard of that.
Never heard of that, right? But it's pretty neat though to hear. See, every day learning something new, man.
Cigar Smoking World Championship. They're running it right now. I don't think they have announced the U.S. dates yet. I think they're coming out with them on where they're having them. They're usually always in a Rocky. If there's a Rocky lounge near you, it's in a Rocky. They'll have it at a Rocky Patel lounge. All the Burn lounges do it, I believe. I understand. And then they have other lounges that get involved. My local lounge did it, but they only did it for the 1 year. They didn't get it. They didn't think they had enough participation. But yeah, it was quite interesting, and you learn a lot. And that alone taught me even more about slow burning, because the flavors I was getting out of that cigar were phenomenal. Because I'm taking time, very slow puffs, very easy, and just savoring.
We should have you come and teach that at one of my events. We should have you come and teach it and make that a thing. When I open up Mega Legend Cigar Cafe, I think that you would be the guy.
There you go.
Okay.
It's special.
That's what's up, man. Well, hey, I want to give a shout out to my ambassadors again, because the support system, I mentioned that, the support system around me, but if I didn't, give the respect to these guys, man, and pay the respect to them that they're owed, they are the ones that inspire me when I don't feel so inspired. Like when I feel like, I might be having a hard time or a rough day, like, they hit me up, and it always changes things. It's like, man, like they're on it. Like when I say these guys are on it, they're on top of it. They're always coming back, hey, what do you think about this idea, JB, or this or that? And I'm like, just the fact that they're on it the way that they are and they're so involved, I want to give them, I want Mega Legend to grow so that they can, also follow and they're behind it. I want them to reap the benefit from it, So I work extremely hard for those guys.
So how many ambassadors do you have?
So I only have really what I would call my main ambassadors, and the only ones that I would really call ambassadors are Nicole and George, who you met today out of the DMV area. There's a new ambassador that's working on helping me out in the Atlanta area. There's actually two. One is Lou, and the other one is Chi-Town Peaches, which you know her. That's Cigar Mike's lady. So outside of that, man, that's it. Now,
do they get involved in the tasting of new blends? They're part of the crew.
They get involved, but I want them to get involved. I want to bring them into a lot more events and a lot more things that I'm doing so that they can be fully involved. I'm working on a destination trip right now, one for Costa Rica and one for Gambia, the west coast of Africa.
We didn't talk about your Gambia stuff.
Yeah, that's a whole nother podcast. But hey, I tell you what, Gambia's on the rise. They're not quite where Ghana is, for example. Like Ghana, they're smoking cigars out there, man. You don't have to go out there and teach them anything. They know about cigars. They're heavily into it and involved in it. But what I want to do is bring something even a little more different, even to Gambia. Like I really want them to experience our culture, our version of how we in the cigar community in the U.S. Like I want them to see how that is, But yeah, I mean Gambia, I went out there on something completely different. I went out there initially to grow rice, and then when I'm out there now, rice. But now it's like we're doing so many different things. We bought up some land. We're doing some pretty important things, significant for that country. So
wow,
coming soon. Yeah, thank you. Coming soon. There will be a Mega Legend Cigar Cafe in Gambia. So that's a great place to visit, and it's a great place to come sit down and have a smoke.
Gambia, I have to put it on. They have a mountain there.
Shit, I haven't seen one. They got salt mountains. They produce salt there.
I need to figure out. I have people telling me if I finish this thing in July that I have to do it again next year, but I got to find another mountain. I'll make it a regular thing to climb for autism.
No mountains like what you climbing. No, nothing like that.
Yeah. Somebody said, how about Nepal? I said, no, I'm not climbing that mountain. That's insanity. But so yeah. So we've had a really good show. We've gone well beyond the hour.
Yeah.
So let us I know you've got things going on there in Costa Rica. Let's call the show here.
Okay.
Were you where? I mean, you're in the Dominican. Are you in what city are you in?
I'm in Punta Cana.
I thought so. I'm looking behind you. Yeah, I thought that was.
Yeah, this is the resort. Like right now, they're about to turn it up and have like live music. And tonight's theme is neon, the neon glow theme. So people are gonna be out here with their lights and all of that stuff flashing around. And I'm about to go grab some supper myself, get some dinner, and then I'm partake in the festivities.
Right. Well, let me give you the next to last word.
Okay. Thanks again, man, for having me on. Thank y'all for joining. Mega Legend, from here we're going up. We just continue to rise, continue to create a smoke that people enjoy. Continue to just be, legendary. Don't be ordinary. That's all I got.
Let's have fun. Enjoy. Thank you for everybody that's joined. Thank you for everybody that's been on the show. Next week, we're going to have Juan Lopez from Gurkha Cigars on. Get your drinks, get your cigars ready. Enjoy that show. You're going to learn new things about Gurkha next week.
All right, all.
Cool.